12 million Africans were shipped to the American continent from the 16th to the 19th century. Of these, an estimated of 645,000 were brought to what is now the United States. The largest number were shipped to Brazil. The slave population in the United States has grown to 4 million by the 1860 census. Slavery in the United States began soon after the English colonists first settled Virginia in 1607 and lasted as a legal institution until the passage of the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution in 1865. Slave ships, also known as slavers, would sail from America to West Africa in exchange for goods. The Europeans took a great part in the transportation of African slaves across the Atlantic to be sold at the slave auction to the highest bidder. Feared by whites, he confused and troubled blacks. Some considered him evil incarnate. To others, he was the true expression of Black American consciousness. Born Malcolm Little, Omaha, Nebraska, he became Malcolm X spokesperson for the black nationalism and the controversial critic of the American society. His father, a Baptist preacher and follower of the African nationalist Marcus Garvey, moved his family to Michigan following threats from the Ku Klux Klan. Their home was burned, the family harassed, and the father murdered. Before he reached his 40th birthday, the life of Malcolm X would also end in violence. Malcolm X was assassinated in New York City in February 1965 as he was about to deliver a speech. Credited with an igniting and smoldering consciousness of Black Americans, he had little passion for a non-violent civil rights philosophy of Dr. Martin Luther King, believing that integration in America was not only undesirable but impossible without bloodshed. One journalist said of Malcolm, he saw his life as combat and his words as a weapon. A black Muslim, Malcolm spent his life preaching, lecturing, and writing. publishing a widely acclaimed autobiography in 1964. Some observers believe his influence grew following his death, spreading to a wider audience and impacting a new generation of black Americans. Breaking with the Nation of Islam ministry, in the later years of his life, he argued that blacks need their own separate state in order to achieve full state citizenship and to establish a separate culture and identity. Malcolm X examined the 12 states of race relations in a segregationist world in 1963, entitled Gold Solution to America's Race Problem. His words just sparked as much controversy today as they did when first broadcast over a quarter of a century ago. As we remember Malcolm X.
Mr. O'Connor.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish that you are?
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith. Excuse me for answering you this way.
That's
if
all right.
a Chinese person were to say his name was Patrick Murphy, you would look at him like he's insane, because Murphy is an Irish name, a European name, or the name that has a Caucasian or white background. And a yellow person, Chinese is a yellow man, and he has nothing to do or no connection whatsoever with the name Murphy. And if it doesn't look proper for a person who is yellow or Chinese to be walking around named Murphy or Jones or Johnson or Bunch or Powell, I think it would be just as improper for a black person or the so-called Negro in this country, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to walk around with these names. And therefore he teaches us that during slavery, the same slave master who owned us put his last name on us to denote that we were his property. So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once his grandfather, or one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson. His name is Bunch. His grandfather was owned by a white man that was named Bunch.
Would you mind telling me what your father's last name was?
My father didn't know his last name. My father got his last name from his grandfather, and his grandfather got it from his grandfather, who got it from the slave master. The real names of our people were destroyed during slavery.
Was there any line, any point in the genealogy of your family when you did have to use the last name, and if so, what was it?
The last name of my forefathers was taken from them when they were brought to America and made slaves. And then the name of the slave master was given, which we refuse. We reject that name today.
You mean you won't even tell me what your father's supposed last name was or gifted last name was?
I never acknowledged